for a prize for my new league, a belt or a ring or a nice trophy. My IDP guys went and had my back. The best swag online for champs is found on Trophy Smack. RING, that spells ring. TrophySmack.com has the bling. Good, so good, I have to sing. Go and check them out, they have everything. I can show that I'm the master of my craft. I'm a champion in fantasy and I won't let you forget that. RING, that spells ring. TrophySmack.com has the bling. Use promo code IDPGuys at checkout for a free ring on TrophySmack.com.
All right, welcome, boys and girls, to another episode of the IDP Plus podcast. I'm Steve Thomason, aka Dynasty Santa, one of your co-hosts, and joined this week by my handsome co-host, Matt Record at MRecord21. Matt, it's week 10. We're officially past the halfway point.
Week 10 is crazy. For those of you that have only been listening to us and not watching us on YouTube, you just have to take Steve's word for it that I am attractive. I assure you, I don't think so, but I'll take the compliment any day of the week. But it's week 10. It's amazing how quickly, the season goes. Like now it's Thanksgiving next week. Like we get the Thanksgiving games, and before you know it, it's Christmas. And then we're in the playoffs. Like this is the final push for your leagues to get into those playoffs. So either you're trying to get those first round buys, you're trying to claw your way into the playoffs like me. There's a lot of really great stuff to unpack, and it's just a fun time of the football year.
Absolutely. So last week I was having a little technical difficulties getting the sheets together, so we're back to the spreadsheets. You got a little sneak peek at our tools last week, which are awesome, available to subscribers. So if you head over to www.idpguys.org, flick in that promo code IDP plus, the plus sign, pod for 10% off. As well as there's even better deals right now, but that is for a limited time only. Matt, why don't you tell the great people about the limited deals that are going on right now?
Yeah, we are offering 50% off in-season subscription. So you get access to all of our wonderful tools. You get access to the Discord, all of the experts, everything that we've been talking up on this podcast. 50% off.
Holy smokes.
It's crazy. I'm going to look up. Do you know the code right off the bat?
Oh, crap. That's something we probably should have had ready.
Yeah.
It's something with IDP 50. It could just be IDP.
It is IDP 50. Capital IDP 50
Nailed
on
it.
in-season membership, 50% off. Just give us a try. You're not going to get this any cheaper than this. So go and do that. And then when you end up signing up for later stuff, you can use our 10% code and get that off there as well.
Absolutely. So with that being said, we're going to start you off this week with basically just a list of names of the top IDP waiver wire ads. So what we're going to do this week is I'm simply going to just read off the names by position group. And then if you want to stick around and hear the why behind everything, we are going to go back into our game by game format. We're trying to keep it a little more succinct, so we're not keeping you here respectful of everyone's time for multiple hours. We're going to try to keep it between that hour and a half range for you going forward. And if you really want the deep dive stuff, the written content and the charts that we have every single week, 2 monster articles that come out every week, a game reviews, and a start sit column. The really deep dives will be in that content, but again, only available to subscribers. So we're going to start off with the linebacker position. Now, linebackers are a bit, the pool is a bit more shallow for available, linebackers that are relevant around this time of the year. So that list is going to be a lot shorter than our defensive backs and our defensive linemen. So here's just the names: Jack Sanborn, linebacker, Chicago; Jelani Tavai from New England; Denzel Perryman, the Houston Texans; Isaiah McDuffie, the Green Bay Packers; Elandon Roberts, the Pittsburgh Steelers; Nathan Landman, he's called both in different platforms, from the Atlanta Falcons; Micah McFadden, New York Giants; Rashaan Evans, the Dallas Cowboys. You're definitely going to want to stick around to hear about that name. David Mayo, the Washington Commanders; and Casey Toohill. Now, he's listed for us as a linebacker for the Commanders as well, because we use MFL designations. I believe he has defensive line designation on like Sleeper and some of the other platforms where that is where his value is. But I was just trying to stay true to our MFL designation. So Casey Toohill for the Commanders, really kind of that hybrid defensive line, edge rusher, linebacker. So unfortunately on MFL, he only has linebacker eligibility. Flicking over to the defensive backs, you're going to want to grab in your corner required leagues, Kyler Gordon, Chicago Bears. Von Bell, the safety for the Carolina Panthers, is back. Miles Bryant, you've heard us talking about him for quite some weeks now. He's still available in lots of leagues, the corner for the New England Patriots. Julius Brents, the Indianapolis Colts cornerback, should be coming back from injury sooner than later. DeAndre Houston Carson, the Houston Texans safety. Tavier Thomas, the Houston Texans cornerback, their slot corner. Josh Metellus, my guy, still available out there in a lot of leagues. So the safety from the Vikings, you don't let Josh Metellus be available in your league, pretty much any size. Both of the Pittsburgh Steelers safeties, Keanu Neal, DeMonte Casey, Jonathan Owens from the Green Bay Packers, Roger McCreary for the Tennessee Titans, a cornerback, Jalen Thompson, the Arizona Cardinals safety, Kirby Joseph, the Detroit Lions safety, Percy Butler, the Washington Commanders safety, and Tony Adams, the New York Jets safety. And then to the defensive line, we've got Justin Jones, defensive tackle for the Chicago Bears, Deo Odeyingbo, the Indianapolis Colts defensive end, Anthony Jennings, the New England Patriots sort of edge rusher defensive end, Christian Barmore, the Patriots defensive tackle, Odafe Owe, the Baltimore Ravens defensive end / edge rusher, Justin Madubuike, the Baltimore Ravens defensive tackle. You've heard us talking about him a lot over the past few weeks. DJ Wanham, the Minnesota Vikings defensive end, edge rusher. Keanu Benton, the Pittsburgh Steelers defensive tackle. Harold Landry, the Tennessee Titans defensive end, edge rusher. Monty Hooker, the Tennessee Titans safety. Ooh, I have him in the wrong column there. Sorry about that. He should be over in the defensive backs. BJ Ojulari, the Arizona Cardinals defensive end, edge rusher. Boy Mafe, if he's somehow still available, the Seattle Seahawks defensive end, edge rusher. And Byron Young coming back off bye week. So he's probably our favorite guy coming back off bye that might be available, or someone may have dropped him because of the bye week. So Byron Young, the Los Angeles Rams defensive end, edge rusher. So those are the names for this week. We are going to jump then right into the review of the Panthers and Bears game from Thursday night. Overall, this was a stinker of a game, typical Thursday night fashion, right? Not a lot of scoring. The IDP scoring was like, okay. There was 60 snaps available to the Bears, and there was 72 snaps available to the Panthers. So as far as Derek Brown had his best week since week 1, which was nice to see him kind of bounce back. And on the Bears, we talked about Jack Sanborn being a pickup. He played 95% of the snaps in this one. So, if you are in need of a linebacker, now we do have to monitor Tremaine Edmonds. I don't think he was meant to be out for super long. But Jack Sanborn may have earned himself some playing time going forward. Maybe they bring back Edmonds a little slowly, so he might still have a week or two of value left in him. So Matt, is there anybody that you want to identify from this game here, the Panthers and the Bears?
Yeah, I mean, Jaquan Brisker playing 100%. Like, he's been such a frustrating player this year. Most analysts, including myself, I had him as one of the top 5 defensive backs, and he has weeks like this. Like, why can't you do this more? I do think it's of note, if you've been following us the entire year, there is something to be said about the linebackers ahead of him, right? Mm-hmm. So he can't get tackles, he can't make plays if the linebackers are soaking up all those tackles, right? So TJ Edwards is still there, but I don't think it's necessarily a coincidence that Tremaine Edmonds is not there, and all of a sudden you see Briskers go up. So I'm hoping this is about his floor, hoping this is what he can do. But I think the other thing that you had mentioned that makes sense to me is Jack Sanborn. Yeah, as long as, again, we've always talked about this, the second linebacker in the Chicago's scheme is productive, right? So Edmonds out, insert Jack Sanborn, who we know has limitations as a player, but he's gonna put up points for you. So he is definitely someone to sort of reach out there and get.
Yeah, Sanborn is a great like tackle floor guy. He doesn't give you a lot in the big splash play department. So this like 12 point,
Just straight
what did he
tackles,
have?
yeah.
7 tackles total. Usually you'll get more solos out of him. So even this performance was kind of down for what we normally see from Sanborn, but he's still going to carry value. That was an excellent point about Brisker. It's very interesting that he's popped in the 2 weeks that Edmonds has been out. So let's hope
Not saying, but saying.
yeah. So that's very interesting. Justin Jones was the guy. Was from the waiver wire list. He's kind of a rock solid fantasy DT like 2
It's what he does.
option.
It's what he
Yeah.
does.
This week he gives you a sack, but the tackle floor has been there. He's giving you other, 3 QB hits, a TFL. Like he's been pretty darn rock solid. So I just did the write up on these guys for the article that will be coming out, and he should be on your radar in even non DT required leagues. So even your normal where you can just start DLs, like he's making himself relevant to be noticed even in those types of leagues. So Justin Jones there. Kyler Gordon is the slot corner. He finally played 100% of snaps this week. So if he's going to do that, I mean, Kyler Gordon was like, he was brought back, I think, kind of slowly coming back from the injury. And, I think is his first game back to 100, maybe all year, or at least it's early in the year. If he's going to be playing 100% snaps in corner required leagues, he needs to be rostered everywhere. On the Panthers side, in my write-up, I was talking about if they're going to shut down Brian Burns because of the way the season is going, which I think could be a possibility. Amari Barno seemed to do well in this game. He played 75% of the snaps as the edge rusher, the primary edge rusher. Behind him, we saw DJ Johnson play 57%, and another rookie named Iku Leota play 44%. So those are guys in super deep leagues that you might want to throw a dart on, but Amari Barno for sure would be the top one of those groups, as evidenced by his playing time. So excuse me, I don't know if I've got the new COVID or what, but I've been coughing up along here. Linebackers in Carolina outside Frankie Louvu continue to just be a fucking
ignore him. Someone's gonna pop up. Like Deion Jones, look at him scoring 12 points. Great on 46% of defensive.
Exactly.
You can ignore that. You can find someone better.
You can ignore it and you can't trust it. So Von Bell returned from injury to play 100% of snaps. Very nice to see. If he was dropped by someone, he would be someone to go grab too. This performance, I don't think is going to be typical for him going forward. It was kind of I don't know. He was playing. I was checking out his alignments. He played a lot more free safety than we normally have seen him play in the past, but he was still up in the box and stuff. Just didn't get the production this week, but that'll definitely change. So, anyone else?
Nope. I think that's it.
All right. That'll take us to our next game, which is another stinker. The Germany game, the Colts and the Patriots. We had 69 snaps available to the Colts. Nice. And for the Patriots, did anybody even play 100? Yeah, okay. We had 57. So not a lot going around for the Patriots, unfortunately. The Colts had, a fine enough amount of snaps available. We saw Kwity Paye get injured, so we're going to have to get tabs on that. And we saw his kind of almost like I call him like the little brother, Kwity Paye's little brother, Deo Odeingbo, go nuts in this one with 3 sacks. So yes, he's on the waiver wire additions to go pick up, especially depending on Kwity Paye's injury. But this wasn't even a great matchup from a points given up to the position standpoint against the Patriots. So it's kind of bizarre to see him go nuts like this. So of course nobody was starting him. People are going to chase these points. He needs to be probably rostered, especially if Pay's gonna miss time. We have to follow that, obviously, but I don't know that I'm super excited to throw him into my starting lineup. He's still a very like volatile, lumpy production type of guy. So unless you're like super desperate, he's probably not this is probably gonna be his best game of the season. I think he popped off for another monster game earlier in the year, so you're just never gonna call
He's
it
got
because,
it
like
in
you
him.
said, yeah, he's got the potential. But like I said, this was a bad matchup for the position, so you're normally not going to take the shots on guys like him with those, not great matchups, and of course he goes off. So just tempering expectations there. As one of the top pickups. I mentioned Julius Brents, the cornerback for the Colts. As long as he's returning, I think they were saying that he was only supposed to miss about 2 weeks, so he should re-inherit this role that you'll see on the list here. Jalen Jones has played 100% of snaps and 5 solo tackles. That's pretty much the floor for Brent, and he is more of a ball hawk and has that big play ability in him. So I'm really excited for him to come back in my corner required leagues. In just DB leagues, you can probably ignore him. Kenny Moore was hot, so of course everyone ran to start Kenny Moore, and he had a whopping, I think he was in the 8s. Where's Kenny Moore? Oh no, 13.5 points with our scoring. 6 total tackles, 5 solo, no splash plays, no 2 pick sixes this week. So still a pretty nice game, but kind of is what it is. So on the Patriots end, I'll hand it over to you. These are your boys. Who do you like this week, or from this week and next week?
Yeah, unfortunately, these are my boys. They are who they are. So
the defense not bad.
Defense is not bad. So Miles Bryant, we've been on him for a while, especially since Christian Gonzalez went down. Miles Bryant has really stepped up in terms of the play time. Granted, you'll see only 72% of snaps, but 14.1 points. He kind of saved his day with an interception, but he's been finding ways to get into those double-digit points all year. I really like him in cornerback required leagues. We are, like I said, or didn't say again, we're on a bye next week. So if you're in a cornerback required league, typically you don't want to only have as many cornerbacks rostered as you have to start, with a couple exceptions. Like you wouldn't want to go drop like a little Jarius Sneed from last year. You'd probably, make that work. So Miles Bryant's someone you can probably drop and then get back if you do have him out there. But he's a sneaky nice ad. I also really like Jaylani Tavai, the linebacker. So Jawan Bentley, the guy that I've been on all year saying he's just a solid plug and play linebacker 3. He was ruled out this week, and Tavai stepped right into that role, played 100% of the defensive snaps. He's probably more like a linebacker 4 or 5, like really, really deep leagues when Bentley's back, but Tavai has been getting some play time. I'll be very interested to see what the Patriots do from a roster perspective the rest of this year. Pretty much a lost season, right? We're third pick right now. I'm hoping for the sake of the franchise that we do play some of our younger folks a little more to see what we have. Like, do we have anyone here that's going to be a Patriot for the next 5 to 10 years? Like I'm looking at you, like Marte Mapu, like keep playing Barmore, keep playing Duggar. Like he's going to be the leader. And Keon White as well, who I don't even think I see on. Did he do anything?
Yeah, him and Mapu, I don't think recorded any stats, unfortunately.
So we'll learn a lot in this week after this bye week to see who's getting that play time. Like maybe Uche starts playing again. There are a lot of players that we expected to play big roles in this defense and just haven't. So we'll see. We shall see.
Yeah, I really like I had Christian Barmore on the pickups list. 68%
His play time is going way up, and he's been doing a lot of really good things with that. So DT required, he's for sure someone to look for.
Absolutely. Let's see. Keon White only 35% of the snaps. So one of his lower totals on the week and didn't record any stats. And Marty Mapu 7%. I guess because this was as bad as they were, it was still a close game for most of the game. So I think they were playing like the main people for most of the game. But
the snap counts, play that out, right? But I think especially now after the benching of Jones, who knows if he's going to start again. I think after the bye week, this is going to be a very different team with maybe more of that tanking vibe than we've seen so far.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jennings played 70%, Uche 30%. So interesting to see what kind of, we'll definitely want to watch week 12 when they're back. for the Colts linebackers, the LB2, thank God Zaire Franklin was back this week. We didn't have to. Segun Olubi, is reverted back to 0, which was nice. We still saw EJ Speed, playing on third downs, 48%. I think 48% of snaps. Jack Liner's still 70%, so he's still going to continue to be frustrating. Not a ton of production on that 70%. Same for EJ Speed, not a lot of production on that 48%. So unless you're completely desperate, I really don't want that headache for the rest of the year. So
don't touch him.
All right. I think that is good for that game. So that transition us to the Browns and the Ravens. What an awesome game in general. Yeah. And this is really interesting to look at. The Ravens had 78 snaps on defense. Nobody on the Browns played 100%, but I think Delpit was at 98%. That was 53 snaps. So with as close as this game was and everything, it's really interesting to see that discrepancy in defensive snaps to the two different teams. So of course we had Rokron with a historic tackle game, 21 total, 14
Unreal.
solos. Insane. But it's funny to go along with that. Nothing else, just all tackles and
all
nothing
tackles.
else. So no sacks, but and Patrick Queen chipped in with 9 tackles, 6 solo himself, nothing else. So really interesting. Kyle Hamilton, of course, with the early pick 6 and 8 solos to go along with that himself. So a nice little monster tick up game for Kyle Hamilton. So on the Brown side, it was JOK, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, the linebacker, playing 81% of snaps in this one. And I'm pretty sure in their first meeting, he did nothing because we thought he was spying Lamar for most of the game. And now in this one, he's the second top Brown scorer to Greg Newsome, who also, I believe, had a pick 6 in this one. Yeah, because he didn't have many tackles to go with it. So I don't know. The Browns outside Grant Delpit and Myles Garrett, the Browns are just an annoying team for fantasy purposes on the defensive side of the ball. So, I really don't have much else to say about them. JOK, a lot of people are still rostering him. People still like him. It's going to be a complete crapshoot when he gives you any sort of production. So, anybody you want to touch on?
Yeah, I like the 81% of defensive snaps for JOK. If you are desperate, you're getting decimated by injuries, right? I don't hate taking a flyer on him. He's proven that he can be productive when he's being used right, and 7 combined tackles, half a sack, 2 tackles for loss. You like that, right? You like to see it. I don't trust him. That's definitely more of a scratch off ticket sort of situation. But again, I think there are worse people that you could at this point in the year. He has fewer question marks in terms of people coming back from injuries. A lot of our waiver wire ad lists, Jack Sanborn went off because Tremaine Edmonds was hurt, right? So you still have to monitor it. JOK, he doesn't have really anything to worry about from an injury perspective, people coming back. So maybe that's enough stability for you to like him. I might convince myself. Other than that, I think Justin Madubuike is the guy that I really want to point out. Defensive tackle. He keeps doing it. He keeps getting freaking sacks. I think this is I swear 5 or 6 weeks in a row of the sack for him. He's kind of set it and forget at this point. This is his highest snap percentage we've seen in a while too, 74%. I was kind of waiting for the wheels to fall off with him because he was more in the mid to low 60% of playing time. It's okay, he's getting sacks. Yes, he's being productive, but he's not getting the play time to necessarily get some of those volume stats. But here he goes in the 70s. And for those of us following us, those who've been following us, defensive tackles, it's rare to get that much playing time at the defensive tackle spot. So really want to point him out on the Baltimore side to go out and get from that defensive tackle, plug and play.
If he's somehow still available, similar to what I was saying about Justin Jones, even in your non-DT required leagues, Madubuike is a relevant player and 100% should be rostered in most of those leagues. So I quickly want to touch on the Ravens defensive secondary, the corners and the safeties. So we have Marcus Williams return to practically full health, 99% of snaps, but 0 production. Geno Stone still hung around and played 67%, which is very much unlike what was happening previously. Now, I think I'm not 100% positive about this, but you see Arthur Mollett at the very bottom, who had been actually playing pretty well, only 19% of snaps. I believe that was due to an injury. So that kind of shook up this whole defensive backfield. And Kyle Hamilton played basically the slot corner role in this game. The overwhelming majority of his total snaps were played at slot corner, according to PFF at least. So with that happening, then I believe that opened up the playing time for Geno Stone to play with Marcus Williams, and that's kind of how we saw that. So going forward, though, I'm not sure if that's going to be the case 100% of the time. I think with Marcus Williams back, if you need help at safety for a deep dart throw, go grab Marcus Williams. And Geno Stone probably goes back to the bench unless they keep up with playing Kyle Hamilton in the slot, which would be awesome for IDP
Fantastic
purposes.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then we also saw Brandon Stevens play 99% of snaps. He'd been hot all year, 1 point in this one. So the snaps are still there. He was, a boundary corner in this one with, against Cleveland and Deshaun Watson. Like, I assume he was on Amari Cooper, and I don't know. They're just, I think this was kind of an outlier, and I would keep rolling with Stevens with that playing time here going forward. I would pick up Marcus Williams. I don't know that I would start him. And then Geno Stone, be very careful inserting him into your starting lineup. And let's hope Kyle Hamilton plays a lot more slot corner, apparently.
Here's hoping.
All right. Anybody else? Oh, Adafio Way in this one had a sack, played 60%.
He looks like a menace.
Yeah.
He's living up to the hype that we were hoping for him for a minute.
Yeah.
So if he's available, I really like him.
I would definitely grab him. Clowney had the 2 sacks, but I think he may have gotten injured too. So Owe might even be ready for a better. Now, this was a great matchup for fantasy points by the position. Cleveland pretty much gives up, as we see here, fantasy points to all levels of the defense. So outside of corners this week, like everybody crushed it. So it was a really nice matchup. So maybe temper expectations there, but definitely should be rostered and played in good matchups there. So. All right. Houston and Cincinnati, the Texans and the Bengals. You see here, Sheldon Rankins, the defensive tackle, on 64% snaps, which is a good amount of snaps. And I believe we called him out in our written start sit as someone, because this was a good matchup from a fantasy perspective. Was not expecting 3 sacks in this one and a forced fumble.
What a day.
5 solo tackles. Like, this is just this is probably gonna be his best fantasy game of his entire career. So people are gonna go pick him up, and he could probably be rostered. I wouldn't want him in non-defensive tackle required leagues. Of course, a defensive tackle required, he's probably already rostered.
Yeah.
If he's out there, he definitely should be grabbed, but I don't know that you're chasing these points and throwing him right into your starting lineup either. So this is another one where we're saying be a little cautious about, maybe don't get too hyped about chasing those points there. DeAndre Houston Carson played for Jimmy Ward. You might think Jalen Petrie got injured. No, he played 100% of snaps, and very impressively did not record a single stat.
Didn't do a dang thing.
So that is super, super duper frustrating. I want to look up here. While I look up, if you want to talk about anyone.
Sure. Let's go Bengals. Dax Hill has been crushing it all year. 100% of snaps, 15 points in this one, 7 combined tackles, a couple passes defended. He's a plug and play DB 2 or 3 for me at this point. You love to see Logan Wilson and Jermaine Pratt kind of settle into what their roles have kind of always been. Logan Wilson having a really nice day. Jermaine Pratt, the way cheaper version of Logan Wilson on this team for linebackers. They're just absolutely slaying it there as well. And the final person that I want to mention is Denzel Perryman. We've been talking about this Houston Texans linebacker room all year. You know us. You love us or you hate us, but we are consistent about Denzel Perryman that he will get the play time. He might not be the best linebacker on that team, although he actually might be. But they paid him for a reason. When he's healthy, he's going to play. He's finally getting the snap percentage. He's been kind of ramping up after his injury, back up to 86%. Tackle machine, couple tackles for a loss. That's really all you can really expect from Perryman. But of the linebackers on this team, he's the guy you want. So he's finally getting that play time. Love it. And then, Trey Hendrickson as well. We know he left this game with an injury. It sounds like it's not super serious. I imagine he might be out a week or two, but he has the upside to kind of stash him on the IR and keep him on your team. So other than that, I really feel like the players we expected to play pretty decently, other than Jalen P, which you got some more data for us there.
Yeah, so my fears are kind of substantiated here. So now this is odd. DeAndre Houston-Carson did play 54 snaps at free safety, but had all this production to go with it. Of course, an interception is going to help that, right? But 7 tackles to go along with it. Petrie did play 46 of his snaps at free safety as well. So hardly any box snaps, hardly any slot, corner, or at the line of scrimmage as defensive line. So, not great.
Not great.
Is he going to give you zeros every week? Of course not. He has the potential to give you 20-point weeks, and he has done it this year. But if he's playing that much free safety, he's maybe just not your plug-in weekly starter like he was last year. Now, reason being is that those box snaps are being taken up by 3 linebackers right now. We had Denzel Perryman, Christian Harris, and Blake Cashman all see somewhat significant playing time at linebacker. I believe Henry To'oTo'o was out, either a healthy scratch, which would be not great, or injury. I'm not 100% sure, but I know he did not play in this one. So that is what's going on with that whole situation. Petrie definitely, in your shallow league, he's absolutely droppable. Go get someone more consistent. Go get Josh Metellus. I would want in a shallow, like say I had to start 1 DB, I would absolutely want Josh Metellus over Jalen Petrie. Now in your deeper leagues where you have to start 3 or 4, you're obviously hanging on and probably starting Petrie, but it's not looking great. Just from he's going to give you production, but if he's put in this spot of free safety more than anything else, that's just not great for consistency sake. So, the linebacker situation, it seems as Perryman gets healthier, he's regaining that LB1 role, which is kind of what we thought was going to happen. We just had no insight into his, health meter. Apparently it's getting a lot better because he played 86% up from, I think he was in like the 50s or 60s last week. And Blake Cashman, stocked down to 55%, and then Christian Harris played 64%. So Blake Cashman was the number 3 this week after being a monster for a few weeks. So it's always like, I think our message has always kind of been it's Denzel Perryman when healthy. And I think it looks like we're finally reaching that point. Beyond that, I don't really want anyone else because it's going to be this annoying rotation. And especially if To'oTo'o comes back either healthy or is allowed to play, it's going to just get even worse. So Derek Stingley came back, gave us nothing on 69% of the snaps. This was a 3-man rotation at corner between him, Steven Nelson, and Shaq Griffin. So until he's healthier, but definitely, he is kind of one of these boomer bust corners. So just a name I wanted to mention your deep CB required leagues to possibly pick up or at least monitor going forward his snap counts. We want to see that get north of like 80% to really be confident and the opportunity for some production. The corner that you do want is the slot corner, Tavier Thomas for the Texans. 95% of the snaps in this one, 14 points. He was called out in the written content. That is the main guy you want to own here. And depending on Jimmy Ward's health coming back, whether DeAndre Houston-Carson is going to remain relevant or not. Will Anderson had a stinker. You're going to have to just live with that, especially in your dynasty leagues.
Rookie defensive lineman, man. Like it takes a minute for them to get consistent.
Exactly. So in redraft, droppable 100%. I get it. Matchup dependent, luck dependent. Jonathan Greenard is massively outproducing him, unfortunately, because I hate Greenard. I'm not a Greenard guy. But hey, this year he's taking care of business. So but yeah, Dynasty, don't do anything crazy.
He'll
He's
be
a
fine.
stronghold. He'll develop and he'll get there. I think it's because honestly, I think he's just really good, and you know, he might be getting extra blocking attention with
Yeah,
better
that's right.
blockers.
Yeah.
Like, I think. Let me see if yeah, he was a decent grade this week, middle of the pack. So, I don't know. Just don't do anything crazy. So, anything else?
No, let's keep her moving.
All right, that will take us to the 49ers and the Jaguars. Big games from your studs in this one. Nick Bosa, thank you. Welcome to the IDP fantasy season in week 10, finally. 1.5 sacks, 2 QB hits, pass defended, forced fumble recovered. This is the stuff we've been expecting from Nick Bosa, and he finally gives it to us in this one. So hopefully that will continue trending. Devin Lloyd playing 100% snaps, obviously needs to be rostered. We had sacks from the interior on the 49ers in this one. Javon Hargrave and Arik Armstead. Armstead, this was, I don't know that I would go chasing that. Only half a sack. Okay. I thought it was a full sack earlier, but I guess not. So Chase Young with a half of a sack. Nice to see, but not much else to go with that. So that's going to be I guarantee he's going to have like a monster game sooner than later here. But these 5-point games are also, you're going to have to deal with that if you're kind of forced to be starting him. 61% of snaps also, we'll love to see that tick up a little bit here too. But then not really any does from anybody worth
No, I
talking
mean,
about.
Andre
So, yeah.
Cisco had a disappointing game with
Yeah.
only 6 points on 100% of snap percentages. That happens.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's not ideal, but he at least got you something. He didn't JP it there from the Texan side that gave you a whole big old goose egg. Like, he gave you something.
Yeah.
Brighter days are in the future there for him.
Yeah.
But no, otherwise, this is great. Like, you look at the top 7 names there
Yeah.
for the top 7 scores, and those are probably the 7 you would have predicted. Maybe not necessarily in that order, but that's great to see. Like, you love it when your studs play like the studs you want them to be. I think that Lloyd has really proven to be that consistent guy when he gets that play time. So he's absolutely plug and play. I feel like Javon Hargrave has been a little more inconsistent than you want this year. 65% of snaps
Absolutely.
played isn't as much as you necessarily want, but he
Mhm.
has this upside each and every week. So he's one of the better defensive tackles you can throw out there. You just kind of have to live with the ups and downs. This just happened to be an up. I think the only other person I really want to mention is Josh Allen, the Jacksonville Josh Allen. Really nice playtime, 79% at the defensive end spot. Like, that's really good.
Mhm.
I think you got to keep rolling him out there. He only had 49 snap count total to actually make a play, but you like to see that a little higher. But I don't know, that playtime, the upside, I think you still roll him out there as your edge 3 or so. If not a little higher, depending on your scoring settings. But no, I think both of these teams' stars played like the stars we want them to be. And that's
Mhm.
nice.
Yeah, you had Foye steal 2 sacks. He only had 2 pressures and converted both of them to sacks, whereas Josh Allen had 5 pressures and no sacks. So, like, that normally will even itself out. Like, sometimes it just kind of works out this way. And yeah, I mean, guys like Josh Allen are going to be boom bust every single week, right? They're going to give you 6 points, or they're going to give you like 26 points. Like, there's not a lot of in between there because of the tackle floors and whatnot. So, just happened that he did not convert his pressures this week. So, kind of is what it is. Yeah, all right. Glad you mentioned him. I don't have much else for this one.
No, this
So,
is a pretty boring game.
yeah, this one is
Boring in the sense that the players we thought we play well did. So
right.
great.
Yeah,
Keep 'em
exactly.
moving.
So we got the Saints and the Vikings next. Let's see. In this one, Demario Davis continues to be the top Saints linebacker. Pete Werner is annoying. Now, at least he played 99% of snaps. That's one of his higher counts. He had been almost in like a rotation of sorts, and also
Yeah.
with Saints like game scripts, he seemed to be the one coming off the field. So nice to see him at least hit 99% this week. But that netted 6 tackles, 3 of them solo, and 1 TFL. So another meh performance from Pete Werner as usual. So Paulson Adebo, the Saints corner, continues to ride a hot streak right now.
Mm.
That will end, as with all corners. Like, yeah, if you want to keep riding the wave, not going to blame you. Just be ready for the end. That's all. Because Alante Taylor, the slot corner, is still there, and he played 77% of snaps, which for a slot is fine, but he's generally going to be in the position to give you better IDP fantasy production. So this was a back and forth game, a lot of firepower. So it makes sense that Adebo, had that. But hey, Alante Taylor, not production to just sniff your nose at. 5 tackles, 4 solo, a TFL, and 2 passes defended. I mean, that's 17 points in our scoring. That's great. Josh Metellus, playing 100% of snaps again. Just going to continue to hammer him every week. He needs to be rostered. I will say Ivan Pace up to 84% out of nowhere. So I'm trying to figure out how that happened, because if Metellus played 100, Cameron Bynum played 100, and unfortunately Bynum, a kind of a 2-week stretch here of 2 down games. Yeah, I don't know what's going on there. I don't think he's necessarily playing a lot of free safety. Let me check into that. But who else here? I think what it was a Caleb Evans, right? The corner played 58% of snaps. That must have been an injury or something, because he's normally a 100% snap player. But we saw Byron Murphy, Mekhi Becton, Caleb Evans, and Andrew Booth all get run at the boundary corner position. Slot was okay. Metellus played his normal kind of all over the place. He had 26 slot snaps, 4 at free safety, 23 in the box, 14 at defensive line. So wait, was it Jordan Hicks? Okay, Jordan Hicks had an injury issue, 42%. So there we have Ivan Pace, seeing that boost up. So, man, I must have missed Jordan Hicks. I was not dialed into this game. I wonder if he had anything like bad happen, or what is going on with him. But yeah, so that we definitely want to monitor, because if Jordan Hicks is going to miss time, there is a need for an LB1, and that would be Ivan Pace, as seen here by 84%. Yeah. So Josh Metellus is kind of the everything guy. They normally play more one linebacker set. So we will obviously dig into that for you in the written content and follow-up shows. But yeah, if Jordan Hicks suffered anything, it's going to make him miss time. Ivan Pace is a major waiver wire addition for sure. So we had DJ Wanham on the waiver list, 93% of snaps. That needs to be rostered for defensive line. That's crazy. That's a very nice number to see there. So you got anything on this game?
Yeah, real quick, Demario Davis is still the linebacker you want on the Saints, right? Like, not just because of the snap percentage, right? But he just has the higher upside for some of the splash plays. Pete Werner, we know who he is at this point, and that's like maybe a linebacker 4, maybe 5. You're in really, really, really deep leagues, and you're comfortable getting 4 combined tackles, or this week, I guess 6 combined tackles in this game. That's pretty much all he's going to be at this point, unless something drastic changes with how he's being used. The Cam Bynum stuff is disappointing. I think he's still built up enough street cred in the previous to these 2 weeks to continue to roll out there, but that leash is getting shorter and shorter. The last thing I really want to mention is you look at some of the Malcolm Roach there, that defensive tackle, 10 points. He only played 38% of snaps, so don't go chasing that. Same thing with Mr. Blackman there, the Minnesota cornerback. He scored 16 points. Great. He had an interception. Only played 54% of snaps. You can find cornerbacks on your waiver wire that play 100%, and you'd rather chase that than the random splash play that happens. So yeah, other than that, I think we have a pretty good idea of who to roster in these teams.
Very good advice. All right, I did some digging. Jordan Hicks had a shin injury, but did have to go to the hospital because of it.
Ivan
The
Pace
force of the
season.
impact, the force of the impact apparently created a bigger issue that, if not treated at the hospital, could have been even more severe. But that doesn't sound good. Sounds like he's going to miss time. And the Vikings just re-signed a guy who'd been with them for years, Anthony Barr, back to the roster this year. So I would still expect that Ivan Pace has earned the opportunity to play as the LB1, and hopefully Barr. I mean, Barr's old, like he's washed, so hopefully he's just there more for depth. Troy Dye would be another linebacker that could see playing time, but so. If I'm betting, I'm not betting on Anthony Barr to walk in off the street and overtake Ivan Pace, who has been playing well all season and just kind of phased out because of the system here a little bit, not necessarily because of play. So yes, we need to add Ivan Pace as a major waiver wire add this week. So that will definitely be updated here. So yeah, unfortunate for Jordan Hicks. Hopefully, it sounds like he'll probably miss some time, but maybe not the rest of the season. So we'll definitely have to monitor that. So all right. Our next game then is the Packers and the Steelers. Not a ton of IDP meat on the bone in this one. The safeties that replaced Minka Fitzpatrick, both Keanu Neal and Demonte Casey, had interceptions. Now, Casey's was kind of a Hail Mary at the end of the game, so he kind of lucked into that one there.
Still counts.
Yeah, I know. But he was the 100% snap player, as you can see here, versus Neal playing just 82%. So if Fitzpatrick is going to continue to miss time, both of them are probably, worth having on your roster in deeper leagues. I wouldn't be super confident rolling them out there and like start 1 or 2 DB leagues. But so we'll just that really all hinges though on Minka Fitzpatrick. So definitely want to keep your eyes on his injury status here. Another guy that played really well for the Steelers this week was rookie defensive tackle Keanu Benton. So we had him on the waiver list, again, in DT required leagues, mostly only I would want him. But hey, he's a second round rookie pick. Definitely possesses talent. And if he's going to get, some run here down the stretch, he could be worth keeping an eye on. But of course, with the Steelers here, it's a giant rotation and it's going to be a different guy every week. You see Larry Ogunjobi at the bottom with just 1 point, but he did play 65% of the snaps. So almost equivalent there. And then Cam Hayward, who just returned last week, had a nice week last week. Broing played 59% of the snaps this week and gave us pretty much a dud with just 3 tackles, 2 solo, and 1 TFL. So kind of a mess there. I'm still rolling out Cam Hayward if he's healthy. I don't know if this 59% was due to an injury. I'll have to research that. But if he's healthy, I'm still rolling him out. But yeah, Benton is a name. He happened to pop off this week. You're not putting him in your starting lineup, but hey, he could be worth a roster spot, especially in Dynasty League. So you want to talk about other guys here?
Yeah, TJ Watt is good at football. So keep playing TJ wherever you have him.
97% of snaps. That's high.
The easiest advice one can give. No, Isaiah McDuffie. We once again were without our boy Quay Walker. What did McDuffie do? Played 89% of snaps, 18 points, 10 combined tackles. You'll love to see it.
Bittersweet.
As long as Quay Walker's out, I kind of like McDuffie there. I think Walker truly was game time decision though. So be on the lookout for that. Because very quickly McDuffie can be gone. And obviously we love ourselves some Walker. Jonathan Owens had his biggest game of the year as well. Maybe he got the Taylor Swift bump because his wife, Simone Biles was in the crowd, I believe, for this one. But 100% of defensive snaps, it is that is a gold medalist Simone Biles, maybe the best ever to do it. A hot take there. But 100% of defensive snaps, like Owens did this last year with the Texans. When he plays, he produces. He hasn't played this much, and now he has. So I would absolutely go out and look for him for a bye week fill in at this point.
Yeah.
Really love that. Look at Landon Roberts getting 96% of the defensive snaps for
Oh,
the
yeah.
Steelers. They had a gap to fill there, and it looks like he's filling it. So he's yet another one. I wouldn't expect 17 points a week with our scoring anyway, every week, but he's going to be a perfectly fine LB4 for you. So definitely a really nice bye week fill in for you there. Yeah, otherwise, I think you got. Oh, do you have something to say about him?
Yeah, Robert. So the issue with him is we had Quan Alexander tear his Achilles. So Roberts might have that 17 points as a floor going forward here because he's about the only body left. We lost Cole Holcomb last week, and now we lose Quan Alexander, who I loved way more, and I hated Roberts because he was getting all the big splash plays on lesser playing time. Well, now Alexander's done too, and it's all the Elandon Roberts show.
So go get him.
He's a major ad here going forward. As far as the LB2, the other name that's left, where is Mark Robinson? So he was a rookie last year. I think he's a converted like running back or something like that. He has a kind of an interesting story as a UDFA or like a 7th round guy, something like that. But he's your new like LB2, I think. So if you're super deep and super desperate, Mark Robinson is definitely a name to consider. But definitely Elandon Roberts now. Now I'm hoping that we saw, so I mentioned about TJ Watt playing 97% of snaps. That's like one of his higher snap counts of the year. I'm hoping like Watt and Highsmith will see their snap counts, breaching that low 90s or plus 90s going forward here. So they might have more opportunity playing more of that potentially traditional linebacker. So maybe some more built-in higher tackle floors for both of them going forward. So yeah, don't go crazy with Mark Robinson, but I don't know. This just got really messy.
Sure did.
Yeah, so not great. Yeah, I don't think I have anything else on this one.
That's better.
Yeah. So yeah, that linebacker situation is just got nasty and really sucks with Quan Alexander. I was rooting for him. So all right, our next game is the Titans and the Buccaneers. So we saw Roger McCreary finally come back to 100% of snaps, and these are the types of games that he possesses in his arsenal. He also possesses 0 floors. So even when playing 100% of snaps. So, take the good with the bad, but the interception here, 5 tackles, 4 solo. In CB required leagues, he's a total home run or strikeout type guy. But nice to see him back. Harold Landry had a nice game, 82% of snaps, got home for a sack and 9 tackles, which is very uncharacteristic for him. Just 4 of them solo, but the linebackers were kind of weird in this one for Tennessee. Azeez Al-Shaair did play 94% of snaps, no solos and only 6 assists. So that was kind of weird. Jack Gibbons, who had been awesome all year, I think, awesome for IDP. And see, these are the problems with guys like this, right? Great for IDP fantasy. I believe he got taken off the field due to bad NFL play. So 40 down to 42% of snaps, only 2 assisted tackles this week for Gibbons. We saw Monty Rice make an appearance with 29% of the snaps. So going forward, I don't know if Jack Gibbons is going to be in there as much anymore. Chance Campbell apparently was working his way back and got injured in like pregame warm-up. So maybe they were going to give Campbell a shot and just pull the rug out from under us on Gibbons altogether. So not great for Gibbons going forward. So major red flag for Jack Gibbons going forward here. Be careful and monitor news about him. I don't know if there's anyone to pick up. I don't know that Monty Rice is that much better. Maybe Harold Landry, like we saw him with all these tackles, maybe his role kind of expands here going forward and he plays more traditional linebacker as well as his edge rushing duties. So, which would be great for his production because we've been very frustrated with Harold Landry here for a good portion of the year. Of course, he was working back from injury. So, maybe this is finally the point where we see him go nuclear for the rest of the year, which very well could happen. So if you can get Landry cheap or he's on waivers, I would definitely grab him if you can. So how about the Bucs guys or anybody else on the Titans you want to talk about?
Yeah, Kalijah Cansey, I want you to put your peepers on him. 73% of defensive snaps, 10 points. He played more than Vita Vea on that same line. So we kind of talked about when Cansey was drafted. A lot of hype there. Could learn a lot from the consummate professional that is Vita Vea. But
Yeah,
yeah, 73% at defensive tackle. That's really hecking
nice.
nice. Especially with those 3 combined tackles. So
Yeah,
be interested. Look at him. If you're in a deeper league with defensive tackles, like he's starting to get that playtime we want him to get.
yeah.
We've been waiting for all year. So who knows? Maybe this was just game script dependent. But I really like to see that above 70% snaps
Mhm.
there for him. Ryan Neal, very disappointing, 33% of defensive snaps. I was just trying to look up see if he got injured. I don't know if he did.
No, he's losing his job.
Yeah, which is unfortunate because he was
Mhm.
pretty decent for us
Yeah.
pretty recently. But that's okay. You can cut him everywhere at this point. I mean, 33%,
Mhm.
that's nothing. Um, and then I want you to look at the Shaquille Barrett there. He's been having a pretty decent year, as he seemingly always does. Only
Mhm.
49% of the defensive snaps played, though. So, yes, you got that sack. But if you were trying to find someone in the waiver wire, you can find someone that gets a little more playing time. That's a little more consistent than him, in my opinion, at this point in the year.
Mhm.
Yeah, and then Devin White continues to do Devin White things. 15
Mhm.
points all over the place. Playing 98% of defensive snaps. You love to see it. We've talked at length about him. I think this is about what we should expect for him. Like again, he's not going to be that top 5 linebacker, but this is really good
Mhm.
production, right? So
Hey,
obviously, if you
that's 2 weeks in a row sacks for Devin White. So hey, let's hope he keeps that momentum going.
yeah, precisely. So if obviously he was someone that wasn't playing great in the beginning of the year, so
Mhm.
he might actually be available on your waiver wires, which is kind of crazy for
Yeah.
someone that has the
In
pedigree that he
shallower
that he,
leagues,
that he
yeah.
has. So just know that, and we're not here to league shame you. If you're in a shallow league, that's great too. Go and get him. Our deeper leagues, obviously, he's gonna be taken already. But yeah, White has proven to be pretty dang good for you. So yeah,
The safety situation, it kind of sucks, right? So Ryan Neal's losing slash lost his job to D Delaney, but Antoine Winfield is the one playing the most free safety snaps. So luckily he got the pick in this one. And 6 tackles and a QB hit, a pass event, it would have been a nice game regardless. But that kind of sucks that if Winfield is taking over the bulk of the free safety snaps because of this whole Ryan Neal losing his job type situation. So kind of messy. It looks like D Delaney, but D Delaney only 59%. So you can't really count on any of them. They're kind of just throwing people out there to see what sticks right now. So that would be the update on that whole situation. Hey, Eric Garrar for the Titans also does return work. So if you're in a league that rewards for special teams, he's kind of like the Keyshawn Nixon from the Packers of the Titans right now, at least. So he could be worth a Hail Mary in your super deep corner required leagues. That's all.
super.
If they reward for special teams yardage and stuff like that. Otherwise, it's that's even more of a Hail Mary if your league doesn't give up for that. So all right. I think that's good for this game. That will
Keep it
take
going.
us to Falcons Cardinals. So big name that you'll see jolt up top here, BJ Ojulari on only 52% of snaps, but 2 sacks, 8 total tackles, 4 of them solo, 2 TFLs, the 2 sacks, 2 QB hits. Like this is a second round guy that kind of like wide receivers, right? Who the second half of the year they usually pop off.
Yeah.
Edge rushers sometimes take years to develop, but BJ Ojulari the past 2 weeks now has had good games, be it on limited snaps. His 52%, I think, might be his season high. I can
Mm.
confirm that. But someone I definitely wanted to call out that if he's going to be getting more playing time down the stretch here as the Cardinals, don't really have much to play for, then he absolutely should be someone that is on your radar to have on your roster. So 52% was a season high. So he is definitely seems to be earning more playing time. He beats out Dennis Gardeck in this one at 49%. Zaven Collins was at 52, so they played equal amount of snaps. And now a lot of this comes at the expense of Josh Woods, who had been, he had been at 87. Going back to week 5, 83, then 60, and then 87, then 69, then 85, and now all the way down to 46%. We saw Jalen Thompson play. I think he's back to full health. He was kind of doing the Josh Metellus thing where he's sort of the LB2, playing a lot in the box in this one, with, unfortunately, Budda Baker relegated to free safety duty. So a lot of stuff going on here with the Cardinals. As far as sacks go, it was just Ojulari. Oh, Gardeck did get a sack, whatever. But yeah, a lot of kind of movement going on with the Cardinals here this week. Oh yeah, that was interesting. I just thought, but yeah, BJ Ojulari would be the main guy I would pay attention to here going forward. How about the Falcons?
Yes, Nate Land Manning with another monster-heading game, 100% of the defensive pass played. He looked, I keep saying, like a menace. He was all over the freaking field. Like, he kept making plays. He got a sack. He got an interception. He had 8 combined tackles. Like, he must add. I fear the Troy Anderson days are dead. We all wanted to make Troy Anderson happen. I know. I don't know.
For Dynasty, you think?
No, the Dynasty is fine.
This year, I don't think. I think
this
Anderson's
year is like
on the shelf for the whole year.
100%. But you love to see Jesse Bates and Richie Grant again living in a symbiotic relationship where both can be fantasy relevant. They're plug and play. You just got to be aware of that. You're fine with either of them. Caden Ellis doing Caden Ellis things too, despite the landman crushing it, So like this game is another one of those games this week where you look at the top 10 people from both teams, right? And then maybe other than Ojulari is like, yep, of course, these are the people that are here. So it's nice when you don't have a whole lot to unpack from our side, because that means things are pretty stable. I know we'd mentioned Jalen Thompson in the section about potential ads. He's always been a really solid DB3. He got back up to that 100% of defensive snaps in this game, which is huge. Obviously, that did not lead to much production this week, which means you might be able to go get him for free somewhere. So I really like that. And then I feel like I have to do my due diligence and mention Jeff Okudah. I feel like I always mention Jeff Okudah. He played 100% of the snaps and only had 1 assisted tackle. That is incredibly surprising and hard to do. He's had some really big monster games this year at that cornerback position. So I don't give up on him. But so there should be some brighter days ahead for him.
Yeah. The Landman situation, I think, is a very interesting one to talk about for dynasty perspective. I mean, he's trying to earn himself a contract and a job here going beyond this year. It probably isn't going to be with the Falcons, right? Anderson's a 2nd-round pick. He'll be back. Ellis, I believe, is on a longer than a 1-year contract. So he's, kind of locked in, and he's doing just fine. So in Dynasty, if you've grabbed Landman off of waivers, like most people did, he's definitely a strong hold. It could be tough for him to find a different team. Like, are people going to believe that, this was this just a 1-year wonder? But we saw it happen for Caden Ellis, right? Played really well second half of the year, went and got himself a contract. I think the same thing definitely could happen for Landman. It just probably won't be with the Falcons. And then will it be a friendly scheme? And, so a lot is dependent on the off season next year. So I think the advice is, if you can afford to hold him, absolutely do it. But if you could sell him even right now to, let's say, a contender for like a second or multiple thirds or something, or like a guy that is, if you could swap him for Troy Anderson, or maybe get Troy Anderson and a 3rd or 4th-round pick, like those are the kinds of deals you want to make in Dynasty right now off of games like this for a guy that is not guaranteed a role anywhere next year. Yes, he could get it, but it is really a coin flip as to whether that's going to actually happen or not. So, quick little dynasty tangent there for you on advice on how to handle Nate Landman. Totally love it. He was annoying me. I was very anti Landman because I wanted Ellis to be gaining production. But hey, I can live with a game like this for Ellis, also getting a sack, 11 tackles. Like, I can live with that if it's going to be like that going forward, because Ellis, I did like a lot. So, good on this.
Keep it going.
All righty, that'll take us to the Lions and the Chargers. So a shootout, a lot of defensive snaps, but you see not a lot of IDP fantasy points. I think people were just kept scoring. So, these wanting your game to be a shootout can be sort of a gift and a curse, right? Because if people are scoring on shorter drives, which is what was happening, a lot of big breakaway plays here, that doesn't leave a lot of IDP meat on the bone. So once we get past these top couple of scores, there's not a lot left. So Derwin James, nice to have him back. Kirby Joseph definitely should be a player who's rostered in most leagues, playing 90% of the snaps there, had an interception. Alex Anzalone doing his thing on 100% of snaps. But, beyond that, we had bad games from the Chargers linebackers who were getting crucified with their just NFL play. So, of course, they were missing tackles, which don't lead to IDP points. So, just kind of a rough game from an IDP perspective in this one, right?
Yeah, really, really an odd one. Yeah, we had mentioned Kirby Joseph as someone to add. Getting 90% of snaps, you love to see it. He should be rostered everywhere. He's definitely one that's probably available in some of those shallower leagues for you, but you'll have to see it. Where I was just there. Oh, Brian Branch, similarly, 93% of snaps. Kind of Swiss Army knife in that defense. That's someone I prefer. Kirby Joseph, because he's done it for a bit longer, by a year. But we keep liking Brian Branch, how he's being used. Like, it was a weird game, as you said, with the shootout. So a decent amount of snaps available, but no one was making plays, right? Like, everyone just kept scoring.
Not one sack on either side, on either team.
Bizarre.
You see big old blank.
Jack Campbell only playing 54% of snaps is obviously disappointing. He is yet to really find the role we want him to find there.
He teased us a couple of weeks ago, or last week. Yeah, a couple of weeks ago, because they were on bye. It's funny. I'm in a Facebook group, and somebody, I believe, was saying, "You gotta start Jack Campbell over Devin White." It's like, what?
Nope, sure don't.
No, thank you. That's terrible advice.
But no, I don't think there's a whole lot to learn from this game from really either side. Like, you're obviously playing Derwin James and Alex Anzalone. Tracy Wall. Yeah, I don't know. Not a whole lot to learn. It was just a weird game.
Yeah, definitely. Production wise, I mean, Murray played Kenneth Murray, the linebacker for the Chargers, 88% snaps. That's fine. I think, with the way this game went, people were being rotated and stuff. Aleem McNeil, the defensive tackle for the Lions, 69% for a defensive tackle. Great. You like to see that. Would like, to see more production going with that. He had 5 tackles, but just one of them were a solo. So, but he's someone who has some upside going forward. But just the fact that there were no sacks in this one,
bizarre.
You're not, that hurts. So, there's really not a lot to take away from this one. So I think we can move on.
Yeah,
it was kind of a stinker. Similarly, the Giants and the Cowboys was a bit of a stinker. You can see there after the top few names, we kind of drift off into low double digits and then single digits. Unfortunately, came on Thibodeau was lost, I believe, in the middle of the game. So we'll have to monitor his status. Did not record a single stat, unfortunately. Same with his counterpart, Azeez Ojulari, was activated from IR, but only played 22% of the snaps and recorded 1 assist. So he's been a massive, massive disappointment.
Huge.
Someone who I whiffed on in Dynasty big time so far. I'm really hoping for a rebound next year, but you can only keep saying next year so many times before you have to move on from a guy, right? Good old Micah Parsons, I mean, I'm just loving a game like this, right? And I have him in places like, but I'm just absolutely loving. Never understood. I'm doing my Trump hands. Didn't understand why were people taking him as the 101. I don't get it. I didn't understand it. Games like this, Max Crosby had a bad game this week. Still not a 0. All right, Max Crosby's not giving you zeros. Bosa, Garrett, like they're still not giving you zeros. A 0 game on and 68%. That's still a decent enough amount of stats. But again, the Cowboys have been in some really, really weird games this year, game script wise. So, and this was another one. They either were getting blown out, are doing the blowing out, or are getting upset by bad teams. Like that's what happens with the Cowboys, and there's not a lot of in between this year. So I don't know what to say.
Yeah. Real life, this game went exactly like we thought it would. Maybe it took a little longer than we expected, but it was over very quick, right? So I'm not surprised with some of those play times that we see on the Cowboys side.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Bobby O continues to be the Bobby O we said he'd be. Like
that's a win for us
both
too.
of us. Yes, we had him ranked as like the 5th best linebacker, and I'll see where he's at in different.
I don't know if we had him
I'm
5th. I think he was like somewhere between 6 and 8 or something like that.
Well, he's 5th. So yeah, no, we were right. Yeah, we were right about him. Yeah, Xavier McKinney getting up to 100%. No, he's one of the safeties you want there.
Finally coming along
on the Giants. Yeah, Pinnock continues his good year, and I see him come back as well. The Giants are just a bad football team that people are going to eat up pretty much at all levels, which is kind of great for the IDP perspective, because teams are going to they gave up 78 snaps against them. And this is with the Cowboys putting out Cooper Rush in the 4th quarter. Like they couldn't even stop him. You know what I mean? So earnestly load up on these Giants defensive players, because they're going to have plenty of opportunities to rack up stats, because that offense can't do jack. And then other teams are going to have a bunch of drives against them.
They're going to be on the field a lot.
Exactly. So we like these defensive players on teams that have a bad team defense. So like take that out, take that team defense stuff out of your brain. It's like, oh, the Giants have a bad defense. That means they're bad from an IDP perspective too. Quite the opposite. Quite the opposite. Rubber's really going to meet the road in a couple weeks when the Patriots play the Giants, which for draft order is going to be insanely important. I have that one circled. Patriots have a bye, so that's the next game. So I'm already looking forward to that disaster of a game that's going to happen. But who do the Giants play next week? Who do they play next week?
I had the schedule.
Hold, please.
Commanders.
Oh, and the Commanders, Sam Howell, it's pretty good. So like I think that's another one of those spots where trust those Giants defenders. The Commanders should have sustained enough drives and they give up sacks, right? So like there's a whole lot of really nice things about those matchups next week. So give the Giants a little bit of a boost next week.
Maybe Dexter Lawrence will actually do something. I was going to say, for what you were talking about, the Giants, you want all of their players at the back 2 levels of the defense. So the defensive backs and the linebackers, their defensive line stinks. And I think that's why so much opportunity is being pushed to the secondary and the linebackers, is because, Dexter Lawrence can't do it all on his own. He's having a really bad fantasy year. So maybe he can give us something next week against the Commanders, but definitely looks like a juicy game for everyone else. Mike McFadden will probably be sent after Sam Howell, so high chances of a sack for McFadden next week. Maybe Okereke gets there for a sack. Despite him not having a lot of sacks, he's still racking up the tackles here. So really, really awesome to see. But yeah, and on the Cowboys end, you see all the defensive linemen, the interior guys getting sacks, the Sam Williams getting sacked. About the only one I want to call out is Sam Williams for deeper dynasty leagues. He is a former 2nd-round pick. I think next year he'll have a much bigger role. DeMarcus Lawrence is washed. Yes, he got a sack in this one. Even with the sack, in our scoring, he didn't even have double-digit points. So he's washed. Hopefully they move on from him next year, and the reins are handed to Sam Williams, which opposite Micah Parsons could be an awesome role for him. So yeah, in your deeper dynasty leagues, definitely a name to keep track of. He is a bit of a knucklehead. So
Yeah.
hopefully he doesn't, wind up in some bad legal situations. So you do have that risk built in with him. And then on the interior, Mozzie Smith got a sack in this one, a first round pick. So he could have a nice dynasty appeal next year. But these other guys, even Dorrance Armstrong, I'm kind of over him
Yeah.
this year. So they go with the young guys for the Cowboys in Dynasty for sure. The safeties continue to be a goddamn mess, including Marquise Bell. We saw Rashaan Evans take 49% of the snaps to Marquise Bell 39%. So he may have lost his job. They signed Evans and might have been bringing him along a bit slowly here. So Evans is a name to monitor for your waiver wires as well, playing next to Damone Clark. We're going to have to see if that playing time, how that shakes out in a non-blah. Again, it's really hard to take away concrete information in games like this where it's just kind of
It
a
was over
goofy
so
game
fast.
script. So, but did want to just mention that. And then the safeties, I've been doing the Cowboys and a lot of write-ups lately, and I've been saying, yeah, these safeties, you can't trust any of them this year. The production's not there. It's a different guy every week. This week it was nobody because there's no passing offense. So yeah, I'm moving on from Cowboy safeties. I really did like Bell. He was kind of the cheat code, but if he's lost his job to
Yeah,
Rashaan
there's no one
Evans,
there to
that kind of
trust.
stinks. But maybe they were putting Evans out because of the blowout and wanted to save Bell. Who knows at this point? So not a lot. Yeah, not a lot of concrete information to take away there,
Hmm.
unfortunately. So that is going to move us to the Commanders and the Seahawks. This one was interesting, especially for the Seahawks, because the Commanders just didn't run the ball yesterday. It was all passing. So that was kind of crazy. And passing to their running back, Brian Robinson, who had an
Yeah.
awesome day. So really kind of a weird game. I don't know if it was game plan going into it, but game script with how it worked out. Now, luckily, Bobby Wagner had himself a day, but that was at the expense of Jordan Brooks, who had a bad day. He did play 80% of the snaps, but only three tackles, two of them solo with nothing else. So after an awesome week for Jordan Brooks last week, a complete dud this week. And I think that was more due to the game script. So who do you want to talk about from this game?
Hey, Devin Witherspoon, rookie
Yeah.
cornerbacks. I keep telling you.
You got me on that one because
Yeah.
preseason I didn't like him.
Yeah, they play and
Yeah.
people try to take advantage of them, and that's great for
Yeah.
IDP. Oh,
Yeah.
he looked really good out there. Jamin Davis, 100% of snaps.
Yeah.
That's nice to see. Cam Curl, 100% of snaps, doing the work.
Mhm.
Boye Mafe is a freaking wrecking ball as well. He's probably already taken everywhere in all of your leagues, but on the off chance he's not, check your waiver wires for
Mhm.
him. 75% of defensive snaps. He keeps getting sacks. I love it.
Yeah, I didn't know he was on this kind of streak because I
He's
guess
on a
I don't
hot
have
streak.
much of him, unfortunately, because I thought he was kind of a bust um, so far in his career. But yeah, I didn't realize he's on a 5 game sack streak. Well,
Yeah.
oh, and the bye week, he's on a 7 game sack
Yeah.
streak.
Yeah. Yeah, I picked him up a couple weeks ago in this league
Oh,
because, again, people were sleeping on him. I picked him out as a
yeah.
bye week fill-in, and then you just keep riding the hot hand because why the heck wouldn't you do that? Deron Payne continues to be disappointing in that defensive tackle spot. Yes, he's getting the snap percentages that you want, but you want to see more production than that. I still say roll
Yeah.
him out there at 79% of defensive snaps played, but if you want to ride a different, hotter hand, I wouldn't blame you. It just really hasn't worked out for him so far this year. And yeah, and then I guess Tariq Woolen, 100% defensive snaps played again, back from injury, pretty decent. He was kind of the cornerback darling last year, came out of nowhere.
Nice.
Devin Witherspoon, I think, is taking over the production there, but
Yeah.
you like that young cornerback group there in Seattle from an IDP perspective. So, yeah, I think that's about all of my takeaways from this one.
Yeah, it's really nice to see Witherspoon providing that floor, considering Jahan Dotson like didn't catch a pass. I
Yeah.
don't know, what other wide receivers were catching passes, but this, if Witherspoon is playing these types of roles to, where he's able to give us this kind of production without much of a passing attack, then that's just freaking awesome. So
Yeah. He's a rock
um
star.
Yeah, he played. Okay, he was mainly the slot, so he's probably on Logan Thomas a lot. Probably had the opportunity to tackle all the running back passes. So hey, we'll take that. Do I have anything else on this one? I don't think. Oh, Percy Butler. I've been calling him out in the write ups. A lot of production to go in this one, but he is more into free safety. But he is playing 100% snaps for the past ever since he stepped in for Derek Forrest. He's been 100% snaps. So if you need he's a weekly kind of
The
Hail
Hail
Mary
Mary.
play,
Yeah.
yeah. But so a name to know who's playing 100% snaps. So other than that, yeah. Leonard Williams has definitely displaced Draymond Jones, so you can kind of move on from Jones. But yeah, Casey Toohill again. MFL, it really sucks that he's a linebacker because he's playing. He played the most defensive line snaps for that weren't named Deron Payne or Jonathan Allen. So he is the main defensive end going forward here, but if you don't play on the MFL, you're probably okay, but it really sucks. He loses a shit ton of value on MFL, unfortunately. So, all right, our last game, and then we'll check in on Monday night. We'll leave you all. Well, we'll be leaving. I forgot this isn't live, but I'll be going to watch the rest of Monday Night Football. But we've got the clunker that was the Jets and the Raiders. And honestly, there isn't a whole lot of takeaway from this one. The studs did their thing. Yes, Crosby had a down game, unfortunately, but I'm more than willing to live with that, when he's going to give me the 3 sack games as he did last week. So he totally gets a pass from me on this one. Big Bob Spillane had the big defensive game for the Raiders from an IDP standpoint, had a sack and an interception in this one. So he's been doing great. It was nice to see Divine Diablo come back to play 67% of sacks, but it is Big Bob's job there in Las Vegas as far as the linebackers go. Okay. So don't chase Jamie Sherwood, who was wildly efficient on 23% of snaps. I was like, when I was putting this table together, I was like, wait, did Quincy Williams get injured or something? Because I saw Sherwood jump up to the top here. But now, I mean, Quincy Williams still played 98%. They must have just been, doing some 3 linebacker sets, with which the way this game was going kind of makes sense. Rookie quarterback there on the Raiders side, they were trying to run it more. So Saleh, put in more 3 linebacker sets. So definitely don't go chase Jamie and Sherwood pretty much anywhere, not even in deep dynasty. So what do you got on this?
Nate Hobbs, the cornerback, preseason darling, comes back 77% of defensive snaps, plays really well. He's a cornerback I feel very comfortable just kind of rolling out there, expecting good things. You mentioned Max Crosby having a disappointing game. Trevin Moehrig had a disappointing game from fantasy perspective. We've seen his usage shift more to be more IDP advantageous. I don't know where he lined up this week, but still played 100% defensive snaps, had 3 solo tackles. Not a devastating week by any stretch of the imagination, but he's had more successful weeks. That happens at some of these spots.
He did go back to he was the number 1 free safety by a count of 48 snaps to Marcus Epps' 42. So hopefully that's not a trend again. That could have been game script as well.
Very, very much so. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm gonna give him a pass too.
Yeah, so I still think he's doing pretty well. But no, other than that, like you said, the studs played like the studs, and that's really sometimes it's nice when that's it.
Yeah, the defensive lineman, not a whole lot here. It's nice to see Quinnen Williams show up this week. So
Right.
hey, thanks for that. Solomon Thomas with a sack, John Franklin Myers, like this is gonna happen. Jermaine Johnson got his half of a sack with not a lot of tackles this week. So that's what the Jets do. They rotate a ton. Jermaine Johnson definitely holds the highest ceiling out of any of them, but you don't chase Solomon Thomas, don't chase John Franklin Myers. Like that's pretty much all I got. Don't chase Malcolm Kuntz, who got a sack on 39% of snaps. Like just, you definitely hopefully if you're using us, even just our this content here, please do your research, but do not go chasing those types of guys. Jordan Whitehead's back, Tony Adams back 100% for both of them, and both had really nice productive games here so if you need help at safety, either of them are pretty solid, darn solid options. So
Heck yeah.
Oh, Bryce Huff. Everyone was jumping on the Bryce Huff train. For whatever reason, like he had one spike week and people are going nuts. 50% of snaps, 0 points. Like I didn't really understand that. I was seeing a lot of Bryce Huff talk and was really confused as to why people were hyping him up so much. Because, like I said, this week it was Franklin Myers and Solomon Thomas. You're gonna hype them up? Like he wasn't dominating the snaps or anything like that. So yeah, don't chase Bryce Huff. Don't chase Solomon Thomas. Don't chase Quentin Jefferson. Like it's a different guy every week. The only guy to chase is Jermaine Johnson because he has draft capital and the ceiling to give you more monster games more frequently because he's the most talented guy on that defensive line right now. So he's a guy you can chase, but the other ones, no.
Leave him
Stop it. Stop it. Go in the corner and think about what you did. Little Taylor Swift there. I don't know if you saw that clip. Yeah.
Oh, how could you not? How could you not? It's all over everywhere.
So all right. That does it for this week. Really appreciate everyone listening. Like I said, doing our thing here. We're gonna roll through your fantasy playoffs. So if you want to take advantage of our premium content, then IDP 50, all caps there, limited time only to get you 50% off for the rest of the year. So hey, if you want us to help you win your leagues, not only do you get all the access of the website, but the Discord, guys. The Discord is crazy. We are in there 24/7 helping you manage your dynasty teams, your redraft teams, making trades, wheeling, dealing, all that good stuff. So please, we'd love to have you join. And then if you miss the sale, you've always got the IDP +pod discount code for 10% off all year long. So yeah. I'll let you sign us off here, Matt.
Heck yeah. Everything Steve just said and more. Come hang out. We're fun. We have fun. We do offense too. We do it all. We keep rolling out these awesome new tools on the IDP guys website. So it really is helpful and worth it for you, especially at that 50% off. Come on over. Come hang out. Come let us help you win your leagues. But yeah, another great week of football and can't wait for the next one.
All right. We'll talk to you next week. Thanks for listening and or watching.
Thank you for watching this IDP guys video. If you like this content and you want more fantasy football content, click here. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more videos to help you master your IDP league, click here to subscribe.